You're on the verge of a discovery that could forever shift how you seek and recognize the love that's truly meant for you. And before your heart retreats behind the familiar wall of skepticism, a natural defense for those who've endured the sting of anticipation too often, take a deep breath. What you'll hear here today isn't hollow promises or repurposed platitudes from self-help books. It's a profound insight into the human spirit, a direct caution from Carl Jung himself. He warned that as long as you nurture two silent forces, you unknowingly push away the very connection your heart craves most. Yes, there's something within you that might be hindering you from meeting the right person. And the most startling part? It's not about a lack of beauty, effort, or merit. It's something invisible, subtle, yet painfully ingrained. Something that acts like a reverse magnet, and you might be unknowingly fueling it every day. Sound heavy? That's because it is. And Jung wouldn't have softened his words to spare you fleeting discomfort if he knew it meant condemning you to a lifetime of misaligned relationships. So, this isn't just another Find Love in 5 Steps guide. It's an emotional and symbolic revelation about what truly prevents your soul from encountering another that resonates with your most authentic frequency. And this first truth might sting. There's a part of you that has learned to hide, not out of cowardice, but for survival. Maybe you loved someone too deeply who didn't know what to do with it. Maybe you gave so much that there was nothing left for yourself. And when this happens, the soul erects invisible barriers, nurturing two forces that drive away genuine love, an unconscious fear of reopening and an illusion of control over the winding paths of destiny. Yes, these are the two hidden keys Jung observed throughout his life in the stories and experiences of thousands of patients. Fear masked as emotional independence and control disguised as spirituality or rationality. At first glance, they seem like virtues, but they are masks worn by a wounded ego, armor that shields you from pain, but also prevents you from feeling authentic love. And this is where it starts to click. Consider this for a moment. How many times have you met someone, and even before a connection could bloom, your subconscious was already analyzing, calculating, predicting, and questioning? Won't they betray me? Won't they leave, like all the others? Is this truly my destiny, or just another lesson disguised as romance? And then, almost imperceptibly, you sabotage the budding relationship. You withdraw, or you give up too quickly in a desperate attempt to prove to yourself that you are worthy of love, precisely because you don't believe it will come naturally. Jung said that the love destined for you isn't something you find, it's something you allow. And to allow, you need to release everything your ego has accumulated to protect you. Fear, guilt, control, and most importantly, the need to always be right. But how do you do this? Since early childhood, we've been taught to fight for everything, to control our feelings, to foresee risks before diving into the unknown. The answer lies in the shadow, and no, I'm not talking about something dark or esoteric in the superficial sense. I'm talking about what Jung called the unlived side of the soul, what you've suppressed, hidden, swallowed down, to avoid being rejected, to be accepted, to fit in. And that's precisely the problem. When you deny parts of yourself to be loved, the universe understands that love must come to this distorted version, not to who you truly are. And the love that comes isn't the love destined for you. It's the love that matches your mask, your performance, your adaptation. Now, do you see why so many relationships leave you drained? Why even when there's passion, a strange silence remains deep within, as if something isn't quite right? Because it isn't. You're trying to live authentic love with a hidden soul, and until that changes, the right people won't find you, not because they don't exist, but because they can't recognize you. It's as if you're wearing an invisible mask, carrying a different scent, a wrong vibration. And no matter how much you believe you're ready to love, these two forces continue to operate beneath the surface, the fear of repeating pain, and the control to avoid the unpredictability that every real connection brings. So today, here, now, I invite you to remove the mask, to acknowledge that perhaps you are still loving with your scars, not with your heart, to bravely admit that it's not life that's hindering love, it's you who is rushing too much. Carl Jung showed us that destiny isn't what happens when we're ready. It's what demands that we let go of who we thought we should be, to allow the soul to reveal what it has always known. You don't need to chase love. You need to stop running from yourself. And maybe, just maybe, In this very moment of acceptance, you'll begin to shift your frequency, to send a genuine, pure, emotionally honest signal. And then, what seemed impossible, that rare, deep, inexplicable connection, will begin to draw near. But it will only be possible if you stop fueling those two forces. In the next video, I'll show you precisely how these forces manifest in everyday life, in subtle thoughts, automatic phrases, and the delicate decisions you make without even realizing it, and how they subtly push away the one person who could truly see you for who you are. The question I leave you with until then is this: are you willing to stop being who you were taught to be, and start being who you were truly born to be loved as? Have you ever noticed how certain patterns seem to repeat, as if life insists on playing the same melody, only with new faces, new settings, and sometimes an even more subtle pain? You change cities, jobs, even the way you dress. But there it is again, the emptiness that follows infatuation, the strange silence after a few weeks of euphoria, the feeling that you gave too much again and received less than you deserved. You might think it's just bad luck or fate, just another unfinished story among the many others that no longer fit in your memory. But what if Jung was right? What if all of this is just a reflection of the internal forces you are nurturing without realizing it? Forces that don't scream or make a fuss, but shape your every step with almost cruel precision? Let's talk about this more directly, more intimately. You're in the car, driving to work, the same route as always. Some song is playing on the radio, but your thoughts are far away. You remember a look that wasn't repeated, a message that never arrived. And somewhere deep down, as if living inside you, a voice whispers, "Maybe you're not good enough." And you don't reply because that voice already seems like a part of your normal thoughts, almost like breathing. You just accept it. You enter the elevator, greet everyone out of habit, avoid the mirror. And again, in that mechanical silence, another thought slips in. You should be thinner, younger, more interesting. And you don't reply to that either. So, day after day, you feed the two forces we talked about in the first part. The fear of not being loved as you are, and the attempt to control what can only be felt. This process is so subtle that many don't even notice it, but it's present in everything. It's in the compliment you deflect with humility. It's in the invitation you decline even when you want to accept. It's in how you pretend not to be waiting, but check your phone 18 times a day to see if he or she remembered you. And the cruelest part of it all is that your soul remains there, waiting, hoping to be called to authentic love. But your body continues to feed the defense. Your ego continues to bargain. Your subconscious continues to replay the old script. Carl Jung said that what you deny in yourself dominates you, and most of us were taught to deny precisely what makes us attractive: sensitivity, vulnerability, the sincere desire to connect with someone who sees us completely, including the parts we ourselves don't like to look at. When you deny your need for deep connection, you become rigid, rational, efficient, but inwardly exhausted. When you deny your pain from not being loved in the past, you become strong, independent, self-sufficient, but inwardly needy for meaningful connection. And the world applauds this version, the one that works hard, that doesn't cry, that overcomes everything. But the cost is that you begin to attract people who don't see your nuances, who fall in love with your strength, but don't know how to handle your shadow. That's why so many relationships start intensely and end with emptiness, because they were connected to your image, not to your essence. I want to tell you something now that you might never have heard so clearly. The love destined for you won't recognize you while you're trying to appear as someone who has survived life. It will only come when you decide to live it, with all that it entails. And to live, according to Jung, meant allowing the soul to re-enter into dialogue with the unconscious. It meant looking inside yourself with brutal honesty. It meant sitting beside the wounded child and saying, "I'm listening to you now." It meant recognizing the ego's masks, not to destroy them, but to understand them. And above all, it meant stopping running from what scares you the most, being seen completely. Imagine a 57-year-old woman. Her name is Clara. She's been divorced for over 10 years. She says she's not looking for anyone anymore, that she's at peace with herself. But at night, when she makes the bed, she only opens it on one side. When she chooses movies, the endings are always solitary. When she declines invitations, saying everything is fine, a part of her is still crying, still hoping, still believing, but no longer allowing herself to. Or imagine Andre, 43 years old, divorced. He constantly says that it's better this way, but he sleeps with his cell phone in his hand. And every time a notification sounds, his heart is tricked for a split second, thinking that maybe, just maybe, it's someone returning to truly love him. They are not alone. They are you. They are all of us. Because before learning to love another, we needed to learn to love what we feel. But we were taught to hide, to be strong, to keep a straight face, even when our hearts are breaking into pieces. And that's why fear and control become our companions. Because if I can't feel everything, then I must foresee everything. And if I can't be loved as I am, then I must become someone who deserves it. But authentic love, the love of destiny, doesn't work like that. It doesn't follow rules. It doesn't fit into your plans. It demands surrender. It demands self-abandonment. It demands that you stop fighting and, for the first time, allow yourself to be found. But this requires preparation. And here's an important point. It's not enough to simply understand Jung. You need to practice his teachings, make them a habit, make them your path. So, if somewhere inside you, this text resonates, if you feel that it's time to remove the armor but you don't yet know how, there's a door that can open right now. I invite you to explore the ebook Jung's Method for Inner Peace and Clarity, available on our channel. Just 5 minutes a day for inner peace and clarity of mind. It's not just theoretical reading. It's a process of returning to yourself, of diving in, of emotional reorganization. It's simple, yet deeply symbolic practices for those who want to stop merely surviving and start consciously loving. The link is in the pinned comment on this video. No need to rush. Just feel when the right moment arrives. And if it arrives, let it be a new beginning. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract love so effortlessly, while others, perhaps like you, seem to be perpetually stuck in a cycle of disappointments, silences, or relationships that start promisingly but end with a sense of incompletion? Have you noticed that often the issue isn't who comes along, but who you become when someone comes along? Let's peel back all the layers of illusion now, because what comes next could profoundly change how you interpret your own actions and even your memories of what you've already experienced. When we say that fear and control are the two main obstacles to love, many imagine this in obvious contexts. People who are too cold, or who want to know the other person's entire life in 3 days. But it's not just that. In reality, these two forces manifest much more subtly, and that's why they continue to operate for years, even decades, going unnoticed. Let's be honest. Have you ever caught yourself lowering your expectations to avoid disappointment? Have you ever decided to love less, feel less, give less, fearing being the one who gives too much? Have you ever tried to rationalize your emotions to the point of suppressing your own impulses, just to maintain a semblance of equilibrium? Know that each of these actions, which seem mature, protective, or even strategic, are distorted manifestations of fear. Yes, fear. And what's worse, fear that you've learned to call wisdom. And control, it also disguises itself as care. When you try to predict how things will end, even on the first dates, when you want to gain certainty about the other person without even getting to know them, when you only enter into a relationship if you feel it can be safe, you call it caution. But often, it's just your subconscious trying to avoid the unforeseen, which is precisely where authentic love resides. Now tell me honestly, how many times have you pushed someone away because you wanted too many guarantees? How many times have you given up halfway out of fear of appearing vulnerable? How many times have you preferred silence over emotional openness? Leave your answer in the comments. Just write, "I admit," if any of these questions resonated with you. Not for me, for you. Because when you write, something inside you begins to break the pattern, and this video, this moment, could become the beginning of a true transformation. But let's delve deeper. Do you know what the most common trap is for conscious, sensitive, and introspective people like you? It's that they think that by understanding their traumas, they've freed themselves from them. But understanding in the mind is not the same as trusting in the body. You can read all the books, undergo all the therapies, watch all the videos, but still, when love appears, real, strong, alive, your reaction is the same as a wounded animal. You defend yourself, overanalyze, hide, and love leaves. Jung said that unconscious reactions do not disappear with reading but with integration. And to integrate means to live, to feel, to risk emotionally falling apart, to eventually rebuild more authentically. But what if you no longer want to suffer? This is a question that haunts many souls, because today everyone has access to deep reflections, emotional content, books that touch on old wounds, but few truly open up. We live in an era of information about love, but with a generation that is increasingly afraid to love. And perhaps you are one of them, not through your fault, but due to emotional oversaturation, because you've already given yourself to the wrong people, because you've been used, disregarded, abandoned. And the result is this: a loving soul that has refused to manifest love. And that's where destiny interferes, because it even tries to connect you with the right person, but when they appear, they encounter a distrustful, armor-clad, strategically minded version of you, and the encounter doesn't happen. What could have been a synchronicity becomes a mismatch. Now take a deep breath and think about what you did in your last romantic encounters. Did you allow yourself to be yourself, or were you always trying to appear more interesting, more stable, more desirable than you felt in reality? Did you enter the conversation as a person who shows themselves, or as a person who sells themselves? And furthermore, did you really listen to the other person, or did you only listen with impatience, waiting for approval? These questions are uncomfortable, but they're essential, because the love destined for you, the one that Jung considered a manifestation of all that exists, doesn't attract perfect people. It attracts those who are whole, those who accept their flaws, their stumbles, their fears, and still show themselves, present themselves, give themselves. But there's another invisible obstacle we must discuss today: nostalgia for the past. Yes, that silent force that lives behind the scenes of our present feelings. How many times have you compared someone new with someone old? How many times have you caught yourself waiting to be loved the same way as before, or fearing being hurt in the same way? This isn't nostalgia. It's emotional imprisonment. You're tied to ghosts, to old feelings that left scars, and inadvertently became the standard for love. But real love cannot be compared, because it's unique, because it's real, because it's now. If you can identify with this, leave a comment. Enough with the ghosts. It's simple, but full of meaning, because sometimes writing is declaring to the universe that you're ready to step out of repetition. Now, an important point. Perhaps you think that all this is beautiful, but that you're too old to change, that it's too late, that your time has already passed. But listen to me with an open heart. Who said that love has an age? It's not the heart that ages, it's the fear. It's not the years that limit you. It's the belief that nothing can be lived with such intensity anymore. Jung saw people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who rediscovered love by uncovering parts of themselves that had been dormant since their youth, because the soul has no chronology. It pulsates when it's called. So, if you're here, listening to this, it means that inside you there's still something that wants to believe. And I ask you, in the name of your story, not to extinguish that desire, to allow yourself, even once, without defending yourself so much, without predicting so much, without filtering so much, because maybe, just maybe, the love destined for you is already near, but it will only reveal itself when you stop rehearsing and start living authentically. There's a story that few know, but that accurately reflects what Jung tried to show us throughout his life. He once spoke of a patient who had experienced several failed relationships. She was intelligent, successful, witty. Everyone around her wondered why she was still alone, or why she always ended up alone. She didn't know, but when she sat before Jung, it only took half a dozen sessions for something to emerge. She was emotionally attached, albeit unconsciously, to the idea that true love always comes when you least expect it, and that therefore, if you give too much, plan too much, or desire too strongly, you spoil the process. She believed that authentic love was magic, and that, like all magic, it couldn't be forced. This, combined with unresolved traumas, made her behave as if she wanted it, but ran away, wished for it, but pushed it away, dreamed of it, but didn't believe in it. Jung told her, "Love is not a trick of fate. It's a response to your inner state. It doesn't come because you deserve it. It comes because you are ready." Now think with me. How many times have you desired great love, but inside you were full of mistrust? How many times have you asked for deep connection, but still nurtured a quiet resentment that said, "Don't trust"? This happens to more people than we think. Research from the University of Michigan showed that about 67% of adults over 35, when asked what they most wanted in a relationship, answered authentic emotional connection. But on the other hand, 52% admitted that they avoided showing their emotions out of fear of appearing too vulnerable. That is, we want truth, but we're afraid to be seen. We want depth, but we're afraid to dive. Imagine you're in a cafe, alone. Across from you sits a charming person. You start talking. There's chemistry between you, synchronicity, spontaneous laughter. But inside, deep inside, the old system starts to trigger. You start asking yourself questions. Will this last in 3 days? Is he really interested in me, or just in who I seem to be? Maybe he's already talking to other people on his phone. You don't notice it, but that energy starts to seep into your tone of voice, into your shorter answers, into your gaze that suddenly seems more distant. And that moment, which could have become a bridge, turns into a barrier. The other person feels it, without even understanding it. And something breaks. You go back home, replaying the conversation in your head. You think you said something wrong, you blame yourself. But deep down, you know. It's not about what you said. It's about what you felt and tried to hide. This repeats, once, twice, 5, 10 times, until you start to believe that the problem is you. But it's not. The problem is that you continue to seek love with the emotional systems you learned to build to protect yourself from pain. And defense systems are excellent for not dying, but bad for living. You need to understand, authentic love doesn't fit into the social standards, those that are sold in movies. It's not always beautiful, not always clear, not always easy. Sometimes it comes as a mirror, as discomfort, as unease, because it comes not only to fill, but also to reveal. Jung said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is a reaction, both are transformed. Stop. Ponder. When was the last time you allowed someone to transform you? Not manipulate you, not dominate you, transform you. Most people will look for someone who accepts them as they are. That sounds beautiful, but there's something deeper, because often what you think you are, your true self, is your conditioned self. Do you want someone to accept your limitations, your traumas, your old habits? But is that love or convenience? Fateful love will urge you to grow, will take you out of your comfort zone, will shake you, because it's not medicine. It's a mirror that shows where it still hurts, but also where life still beats. You know what? It only comes when you're ready to let go of something. Yes, to let go of an old pattern, an old version of yourself, ingrained beliefs, dear fears, a character that you created to protect yourself, but which now prevents you from being recognized. I understand. It's hard to hear, but it's also liberating. Look at this other real story. A 48-year-old man, widowed for 7 years, signed up for an emotional support group because he couldn't feel anything anymore. In that group, he met a woman. They got along, he respected her, admired her, wanted to be with her, but every time he got close to her, he felt guilty, as if loving again was a betrayal to his deceased wife. He carried a quiet pain that said, if you're happy again, it means you've forgotten. It took months of deep listening before he could say, crying, I'm afraid that my happiness will be an insult to her memory. And at that moment, something opened. Because the problem was never the new woman. It was unresolved grief. It was an attachment to pain as a part of his identity. This happens to many of us. We keep pain as relics. We use absence as a medal. We nurture suffering to prove that we're deeply hurt. But authentic love is not born in the grave. It's born when you accept that moving on doesn't mean forgetting, but honoring the memory. This applies to all kinds of losses. Betrayal, departure, broken relationships. It only heals when you say to yourself, I will no longer live in the past. If this touched you, leave here in the comments. I allow myself to move on. Because writing this not only changes the video's algorithm, it changes your vibration, it changes your emotional signature, it changes the field around you. One more statistic. A Stanford University study showed that people who write about their emotions at least once a week, deeply and consciously, are 34% more likely to build stable, close relationships. Why? Because they're in contact with their truth, and truth attracts. You've heard that energy doesn't lie. That's exactly right. You can try to appear indifferent, but your vibration will show whether you're open or closed. It will show whether you're waiting for love or still hiding behind emotional defenses. It's useless to have a profile on all dating apps, useless to repeat positive affirmations every day, useless to post photos with a smile and spiritual quotes if inside you vibrate fear, control, and pain. Fateful love isn't attracted by ready-made phrases. It's attracted to ready souls. And ready souls are not perfect. They're simply available, open, ready to live, to make mistakes, to try again. And are you ready? Perhaps this is the most important question you can ask yourself today. Not when will it appear, not why didn't it work out with so-and-so, not what's wrong with me, but simply, am I really available? And if the answer is still no, that's good, because now you know. And knowledge is the first step to stop repeating mistakes. Jung said that nothing changes until it becomes conscious, and awareness doesn't come with answers. It comes with questions, with unease, with the discomfort of looking inside yourself and understanding that there's still much to release in order to finally allow yourself to love. Perhaps the greatest revolution in your life will begin with a simple action, stopping fighting love and starting to receive it with all its uncertainties, imperfections, and surprises. Because in the end, what the soul desires most is not control, it's connection, and you deserve that, even if you still doubt it, even if you've forgotten what it's like. It's time to remember. You've reached this point, and that already says a lot. It means that, at some deep level, a part of you is tired of waiting, tired of repeating the same mistakes, tired of pretending that everything's okay, when in reality there's a sincere desire to love and be truly loved. And now it's time to look at everything we've talked about with the emotional maturity of a person who no longer wants to merely survive, but wants to live a full life. Let's summarize what you've felt so far. We talked about fear disguised as independence, about control disguised as spirituality, about the emotional self-deception that hinders love. We talked about the masks we wear to appear ready, while inside we're still suffering from unresolved memories. And now it's time to make room for integration, because it's not enough to simply understand. It's not enough to simply feel. It's necessary to transform. Carl Jung said, "You don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This means that the love destined for you will only find you when you stop searching for it outside and start removing from within what prevents it from entering. Love is not far away. It's buried beneath layers of fear, pride, resistance, the armors you created for protection, but which today, unfortunately, serve only as walls, blocking the path to the most sublime experience a soul can have. And perhaps the first step is to accept that you deserve to live love easily, in the present, without games, without needing to manipulate or play a role. A love where you don't always need to be at your best, but where you can exist as you are, at peace with your silences, simple gestures, fluctuations. But how to achieve this? First, understand that love is not a reward. It's a consequence. It doesn't appear because you're a good, beautiful, or spiritual person. It appears when you're in harmony with the truth of your soul. And that harmony begins with something very simple and at the same time revolutionary. Stop running from your feelings. Have you noticed how we run from feelings? Are you sad? Turn on the TV. Are you lonely? Go to the app. Are you disappointed? Eat something. Are you scared? Run to occupy yourself with something. But what would happen if you stopped for a moment and just stayed with that? Just breathed with that feeling, without trying to change it, explain it, or ignore it? You know what would happen? You'd start to listen to what it wants to tell you, because every feeling is a message from the soul, and when you listen to it, it transforms. But when you suppress it, it turns into a symptom, into repetition, into sabotage. Fateful love isn't met when you're full, resolved, and perfect. It reveals itself when you're whole, even if wounded, even if disoriented, even if scared. It's your wholeness that attracts what is true. This requires courage, the courage to step out of the role of victim of life and take on the role of creator of your own emotional destiny. This requires giving up repeating ready-made phrases. No one is good enough. Everyone disappoints. Men, women only want one thing. I'm not born for this. And starting to observe where these ideas come from. They weren't born with you. They were assimilated. They were created to protect you. But today, they're limiting you. Are you ready to question them? Because if so, something very profound will begin. The reality around you will change. The people you attract will change. Your perception of love will change because your frequency will change. And frequency is everything. If you vibrate in emotional scarcity, you attract scarcity of love. If you vibrate in distrust, you attract people who further amplify that distrust. But if you vibrate in truth, in openness, in presence, then what comes to you doesn't have to be perfect, just real. And perhaps that's where the greatest beauty of love lies. It doesn't come to fill a void. It comes to dance with your fullness. It comes to expand what already exists, not to solve what is lacking. But be careful not to confuse this with the complex notion that I can only love when I'm content with myself. That's another delusion. You don't need to be on top. You simply need to be honest. The one who loves truly loves even with pain, with doubts, with scars. But the difference is that you start to love consciously, not out of lack. And to love consciously means to allow yourself to be vulnerable. It means talking about your feelings without guarantees. It means choosing to be near even when the fear of being abandoned appears. It means talking not to win an argument, but to establish a connection. It means not giving up on someone just because he or she touched on your traumas, but using it as an opportunity for mutual healing. You know why this is so rare today? Because it requires presence, and presence doesn't combine with speed. And we live in an era where everything happens fast. Relationships have accelerated, expectations are high, and no one wants to wait anymore. But real love, it takes time, it matures, it reveals itself gradually, it tests, it demands patience, and only those who no longer rush can experience it fully. Now tell me, are you still speeding, or have you already understood that what belongs to you doesn't need to be achieved, but simply recognized? Perhaps this is the deepest shift you can make inside yourself, to move out of search mode and into recognition mode, because often the love you're looking for has already tried to enter your life, but you were too busy trying to control everything to notice it. Perhaps the right person already passed you by, but you were so busy being someone you're not that they went by. Or perhaps they haven't come yet because at this moment, life is asking you to first see yourself before someone else sees you. Do you accept this? If so, the next step is to take responsibility for everything you feel, not guilt, responsibility. This means stopping shifting the blame for your life onto others, stopping saying that others hurt you, and starting to understand that you accepted that pain because you don't yet know what you deserve. This changes everything, because when you change how you treat yourself, you also change the type of love you accept. And finally, you stop searching for the right love and start becoming the person who naturally attracts it. If you've reached this point with an open heart, now is the perfect time to put this into practice. So, in the next video, I'll show you a practical and emotionally intelligent step-by-step plan to bring all of this to life, not just in theory, but in everyday life, in conversations, in choices, in the most intimate decisions. A deep, sensitive, and direct plan to tune your soul to the vibration of the love that is truly meant for you. Now that you've heard everything, answer from the heart what is still preventing you from living the love your soul craves. This isn't a rhetorical question, it's a question of reconnection, because the truth is that you already carry within you everything you need to allow that love to happen. But perhaps you lacked clarity on how to access it, on how to get out of emotional repetition and finally stand in the place where true love can find you. And that's precisely why this last part isn't just a conclusion. It's a transition, an invitation, step by step, firmly and delicately, towards what belongs to you, by essence. But that hasn't yet been accepted because the most true parts of you have been dormant or hidden. Here, you'll discover a practical, strategic plan. It's not a superficial list of general advice. It's an emotional, internal, and concrete path that will help you apply everything you've heard so far in a real and sensitive way. A plan that will help you bring your actions, choices, and thoughts into alignment with the frequency of the love meant for you. Step 1. Conscious silence. Every day, set aside 5 minutes to sit in complete silence, without music, without distractions, just with your breathing and the thoughts that come. At this moment, don't try to control anything. Just observe. This is the step of awareness. It's here that you begin to distinguish the voice of your intuition from the voice of your trauma, because authentic love responds only to your intuition. When you live running, trying to understand everything rationally, you distance yourself from the only compass capable of leading you to reality. Step 2. The unsent letter. Write a letter, not to a specific person, but to the idea of love. Speak frankly. Write what you feel, what you expect, what has disappointed you, what still hurts you, what you still desire. Then, read the letter aloud to yourself, as if you were listening to your inner child express themselves. Don't send it. Burn it. Tear it up. Let it go. This is the step of emotional unloading. You're clearing the channel that needs to be opened so that the new can come. As long as you hold within you trapped words, old feelings, anger that was never heard, there's no room for the new. Step 3. A new behavior. For a week, write down all your automatic reactions to people. For example, someone leaves and you feel anger, you feel rejection, you feel guilt. Write that down. And in the next moment, consciously choose a different reaction. If before you were silent, say something kind. If before you blamed the other, look inside yourself. If before you ran away, try to stay. This is the step of repositioning. It's here that you begin to rewrite, through small actions, the patterns that previously dominated your attitude toward love. Step 4. The daily mirror. For 7 days, look at yourself in the mirror for 2 minutes without judgment. Don't look for flaws. Don't praise yourself artificially. Just look. Look at your eyes, at how you look, at the energy you radiate. After 2 minutes, ask aloud, "What do you want today?" And listen. This may seem simple, even silly, but it's one of the most transformative exercises because you'll begin to understand how much you've ignored your own emotional needs and how much you demand from others, what you yourself aren't ready to offer. This is the step of self-integration. Destined love recognizes those who already deeply see themselves. Step 5. A public promise. Choose someone you trust. It could be a friend, a therapist, a family member, someone from your inner circle. Share with that person that you're entering a process of opening to authentic love. Not just any love, but the one that demands truth, consistency, and conscious giving. By expressing this aloud, you make an emotional pact with your soul. This is the step of emotional accountability before yourself. When you publicly commit to healing yourself and reaching your goal, the field around you begins to vibrate differently. Step 6. The forgiveness ritual. Choose a day, light a candle. Write the names of all the people with whom you've had emotional relationships that still carry pain, anger, unresolved longing, or guilt. Write the name, and next to it write, "I release you so that you can live your life. I release myself to live mine." No need to forgive emotionally. Just open yourself to this gesture, burn the paper, look at the flame, and imagine that with each spark, you return to those people the energy that was still attached to you. This is the step of energy release.